Yeah, somehow I figured it's supposed to have been a little bit of a different intro, but anyway, we're on. So, all right, welcome everybody. We are back with 360 Takeout. We haven't had did a takeout in wow quite a few weeks, so a lot of you might have forgot what this is all about. So, what this is basically sort of like a rapid fire session where we have different topics we're going to be covering. As you can see listed here, the topics we'll be talking about tonight. And same thing though, we're gonna give our take on these topics. As always, you're gonna hear from us. But like I say every week, all of our presentations, all of our shows are interactive. It's not just us talking at you, it's talking with you. So please feel free to comment. As you can see right here, we have slots designated for comment. So whenever you want to come in and say something, please list your comment, and we will react to what it is you're saying. So hopefully, some of these topics will definitely give some type of reaction if you want to say something. I mean, these are pretty hot topics that are in the news right now, things that are happening currently. So I think it's going to be good tonight. A lot of discussion is going to be happening. So as always, I have my comrades in the building. And we're going to get kicked off in a second with the first topic. But let's first get some other information and housekeeping things out the way, Isaac.
Hey, peace, Grant. Peace, Tim. Good to be with you guys. As always, man, we're thrilled that we have a growing audience. I see that we have 4 friends with us. Check in with us in the chat. Let us know where you are so we can shout you out. We definitely want to recognize and add and respond to your comments and your thoughts and insights as we go along. We believe in doing knowledge together. So while we have insights and ideas prepared to share with you tonight, we want to hear from you as well. So if you hit us in the chat, we will definitely respond to your comment. We will acknowledge it. We will even display it on the screen, just like G said. So with that, man, I guess just real quick, check out if this is your first time with us, check out our website, 360 Collective online. We have lots of great content there. We have previous videos and discussions that we've produced. We offer consulting services specifically in the area of education, but really focused on organizational culture. So if you are interested in support, we love to partner with organizations who are looking to serve the people, serve the masses, improve their performance, make their culture more collaborative, more transformative. So if you are interested in that, definitely visit us on the site or just check out our other content there. We have also content on our Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel. Go to subscribe to that as well so that you can stay apprised of everything that we do here on Facebook and on YouTube, and of course on our website as well. So I think with that, I think we're ready to move ahead. Did we cover everything? We miss anything there, Tim?
Absolutely not. I just want to thank you, gentlemen, once again for allowing me to take part in these discussions. I think it's very important work that you guys are doing in maintaining this vigil, and I'm just glad that I can, give my 2 cents every week here along with you guys, because it's important that we get this information out, and it's important that we maintain some connectivity with the struggle, as it were. So thanks again.
No doubt, no doubt. So, G, with your blessing, we can kick off the first topic.
All right, let's get it going.
All right.
21 people, 19 teachers, and 2 students were tragically shot and killed at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. 17 more were wounded. Was this an isolated incident requiring thoughts and prayers, or something more?
Well, where do you begin? Obviously, this was not an isolated incident requiring thoughts and prayers, even though that seems to be the repeating narrative for these kinds of incidents, is the thoughts and prayers. But you're talking about 19 children and 2 unarmed adults gunned down by a troubled teenager. Where do you begin? Do you begin with that tragic fact, those tragic facts, or do you begin with the delayed law enforcement response for whatever reason? I saw one article that talked about the fact that it might not be the best idea that we automatically rely on the law enforcement narrative because sometimes they get things wrong. And a lot of information is coming out about this where they had some critical breakdowns and some very critical failures. So do you talk about that, or do you talk about what led to the shooting in the first place with the young man who had the nickname school shooter several months before this even happened? I mean, it's a complex issue in the United States. And then we had all the mass shootings over the weekend. I think the information they put out was something like 62 injured and 11 dead for over the weekend. So no, this is something definitely not isolated. It's something that definitely requires a lot more than thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I think that's kind of starting to be in a hashtag almost. My thoughts and prayers. It's not even really genuine. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's so cliche. We have a situation where these are babies. These are someone's daughter, someone's son that was tragically taken. A lot of questions are still running around about this situation in general, of just how how we know how he was able to obtain the type of weapon that he used, the assault rifles, and the reason they want to ban this particular weapon in the first place is that really an 18-year-old is not really responsible enough to handle this high-powered weapon. It really does. And honestly, 21 years old, I think people want is to get rid of it altogether. It's a military style rifle that really serves no purpose in the hunting world. They claim it's easy to hunt with, but it really is just a problem in general, because that's the weapon of choice that all these mass shooters have chosen to use. And so right now, what we're seeing right now is a plea to ban this weapon altogether. But at the least bit, they're saying at least make it whether you have to be 21 years old to purchase this weapon. My question is, where in the world does this young man get this money from? These are not inexpensive weapons. My question is always, where is the money coming from? These are like hundreds of dollars. And I'm sorry, I don't know about you all, but when I was 18, I didn't have that kind of money to go just throw and buy a weapon or anything at that matter for that amount of money. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, as someone 18-year-old waltzes into a gun shop and makes this purchase, I mean, at the very least, should there be some kind of questionnaire, or should there be some type of something put in place?
There should be some kind of restriction put in place to stop people from buying these types of weapons, especially on a whim. I think there used to be a waiting period, or some states have a waiting period or a cooling off period. So you can't get the weapon that day and go commit the murders that day, maybe. But there should be something. You shouldn't be able to just go in and walk into the store and buy a deadly weapon as quickly and as easily as you would buy a candy bar or a can of soda. Because obviously there are a lot of troubled people in the world. And if you look at all the mass shootings over the weekend, it seems as though these numbers are multiplying. Now, therein lies another question. Are there more mass shootings, or is this something that we're watching more closely now because of these last two just so close together? Is it a matter of reporting now? Are we focused on this now, much in the way we focus on police brutality when there's a very serious police brutality case? Because that could be part of it.
Yeah. I think there are a few things also for us to consider. First is that we've seen tragedies like this before. Unfortunately, the NRA is in the pockets of politicians, and 15, 20 years ago, the NRA donated equally to both parties, maybe with a slight preference towards Republicans. And now their donations have gone almost exclusively to Republicans. to the point where they've made virtually no donations except to maybe one Democratic senator who is a staunch opponent of any gun regulation or any legislation that would make it more difficult to get guns. So we have to consider the NRA's role in this and why nothing has happened. Only in the United States do we have such powerful gun lobbies. And here's what I was talking about before with the NRA. This is how they grade Republicans versus Democrats. An A grade represents a position that is friendly to gun ownership and opposes all restrictions on gun ownership. And so at this point, there's an obvious demarcation between Democrats and Republicans. So that's one thing that we have to consider, is that this is a very political issue. Unfortunately, even though we're talking about human lives, it does boil down to politics, and that's why we can't get things legislated in a way that will make common sense gun legislation a real possibility. Even though, as this poll shows, and this is from 2019, you can see that most people believe strongly in background checks for gun show sales, for creating a national red flag law. But then if you look now at 2022, there is still a massive support. Well, I won't say massive, a majority support for more strict gun laws. But when you break that down by political party, as represented in the bottom right corner, Democrats and Republicans, you can see that the feelings are not at all the same, and there's a misalignment between the two parties. Tim, you raised another, so that's one thing. The other thing is the number of mass shootings that continue to happen in this country. There is a problem here in the United States that is unique to just the United States. There's a problem with violence. There's a problem with gun proliferation. And there is an issue of mental wellness. So when people say mental wellness needs to be considered, I don't disagree with that at all. Mental health services in this country have been neglected for years and years and years. And it's one of the reasons why poor people of color have been locked up because of drug violations for decades upon decades, because what people addicted to drugs need is treatment, not incarceration. And so we're slowly beginning to understand the importance of mental wellness, mental fitness when it comes to drugs, but now on this topic, gun ownership as well. But it isn't just one thing that will make this issue better. There are a number of things that need to happen, because we far outnumber. I mean, the rest of the mass shootings in the world combined don't equal a fraction of the number of mass shootings that happen here in America. So there's an issue of gun proliferation. There's an issue of mental wellness. And I think both of those things are symptomatic of poverty and other inequalities that we've talked about at length in other times and places. So those are my 2 cents. I don't know what you guys think about that, or any additional responses you guys have.
I think the issue is definitely highly politicized. I think it's polarized the country over just one more thing to keep us divided and keep our attention off of what's really happening. You have people ready, willing, and able to try to instigate a conflict in the United States over their gun rights. You know what I mean? And I'm a gun owner, and I would hate for somebody to try to knock on my door and tell me to fork over my weapons, because I just don't think that that's something that would end well for anybody. And I don't think it should, because it's a constitutionally protected right in this country to own a firearm. But to buy an AR-15 or that style of automatic weapon, there's only one purpose for that. That is a weapon of war. That is not a weapon you use to hunt deer. That is not something you use for pest control to shoot squirrels that are getting into your attic. That is a weapon of war. That is a weapon you use to hunt other human beings. And you buy something like that to kill people. And ultimately, isn't that what a firearm is for? If you're using it in defense of your home or your person or your property, that's why you buy a weapon, is to shoot somebody with it. And I think that needs to be recognized as well. You know, let's get down to the nitty gritty. People are buying these guns to kill people, and they are killing people with them. So, you know, it's a bigger question than politics. I think it's a big question of mental health. I think there's a moral and ethical side to this argument too. It's like, where do we draw the line? We glamorize gun violence and gun culture in this country every day, all day, have for centuries, just or decades. Just glamorizing all types of gun culture and gun violence. You know what I mean? From Matt Dillon to Bad Boy, pulling the pistol or the rifle and shooting stuff up is popular culture in this country. Now that people are really doing it on a regular basis and it's being televised and captured on video and broadcast on the evening news, you know, now it's something else. It's something else. So there's a disconnect there. I mean, it's a very complex issue, man, with a lot of very serious questions.
What's going on, Dukes?
Muted.
You're muted. Okay. Y'all want to jump to while you try to get that together? You want to jump to the comments?
Let's jump into some comments, man. Why don't y'all what comments are standing out to you guys that you want to respond to?
I see Chip Matthews here. He says, yeah, pistols are cool, but I need a street sweeper to protect my family. You know, gun enthusiast, I guess. You know, maybe it's being facetious. Maybe it's a little sarcasm in there. But I think guns are necessary in society for the reasons outlined in the Constitution, but I don't think they're necessary in society for what's happening with them and all the gun violence that's proliferating in the streets. I would hate to live in a society where I wasn't allowed to have a gun. And you've got this. Who is this? The Senate candidate who's straight blaming gun violence on Black people. I think. I mean, I would hate to live in a society where they come to me because of the color of my skin and say, yo, you are not allowed to own a gun because of what somebody like this guy, Blake Masters, said, or some kind of legislation that this cartoon character enacted, you know? So.
Well, you know what? This goes back, and I'm just reflecting really briefly here about our conversation based around Malcolm X's one of his last speeches when he talked about, and one of the pieces that we discussed at length was this visualization and seeing Black folks on your news every single evening. Well, if that's all you see, and you see gun violence related to Black crime every single evening, then you automatically think Black folks are only criminals, only ones who own guns that are doing the violence, which is completely not true. Unfortunately, a lot of shootings that are non-Black shootings hardly ever get reported. All right, it happens all the time, and you don't see it at all on your 5 o'clock news, 6 o'clock news. But you see us plastered every single evening. A shooting was on the Lower East Side. A shooting was on the West Side. I mean, every single night. So you do have people walking around here thinking that the violence is predicated only among Black folks, which is completely ridiculous. And we all know most of these mass shootings are not us. We're not walking into stores. I mean, there was the recent shooting in Tulsa. There was a Black man, and I think, you know, not discrediting it, but he was, you know, it was far less than what happened in Uvalde. So wrong is wrong on both sides. But what I'm saying is that he's dead wrong, but it's because of the images that were fed by the media on a daily basis that has people thinking that we're to blame. You know, you Black people are the reason why we have gun violence in this country. And somebody made a comment about how that we need to stop thinking that people are, Ish Mendelin, I'm sorry, I probably butchered your name. They are not getting all the guns from the stores. Well, you have reports that there are literally people, and I mean people, young people in places like Chicago, LA, New York, that are actually finding guns, assault style rifle guns and pistols that have been planted. And there have been There have been statements made by on different accounts that this has happened, where they found these guns that just popped up in the neighborhood. Again, these guns are very expensive. Who in the hell wants to just give away guns to somebody? We know they're buying illegally off the streets. That is happening as well. But there have been guns planted in different neighborhoods for people to stumble across and find. So no, they're not getting all the guns from the stores. They're not all being purchased. We know that many of these communities are very poor. They can't afford these guns.
True.
Guns are not cheap. If you go to a gun show or anything or a gun shop, go take a look at the prices. You can't walk in with $50 and go buy anything. So yeah, I do believe we understand that these guns are definitely being planted in certain situations, especially in Chicago. There's been numerous amounts of cases in which people have said they have stumbled across these guns in different neighborhoods. The media's not going to, of course, tell you that because, of course, they don't want anyone to know this is happening. So there is a more sinister plan that has been operating underground in this whole issue overall when it comes to gun violence in this country.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back to there were even reports of pallets of bricks and things like that being found in some of the protests over George Floyd and Michael Brown and the protest areas. So that stuff does happen. I wouldn't put it past those who are agitators to do stuff like that. Here's one. What about the Black peaceful protests? They need a good show of arms too. Would that change the nature of the protest? Would that change the nature of our protest activity if we went out to our protests armed to the teeth, the way some of these other cultures do in this country, the way status quo does, far right nationalists go out to their protests armed to the teeth? Would that change our relationship and the nature of our interactions with the wider community if we did that? And if so, how? Because this is obviously a country of rampant gun culture. So if you don't have a gun, I mean, are you the idiot? I mean, really? I mean, in the land of the blind, it's the sighted man who is the outcast. Mm-hmm. So for those of us who have no guns, are we the ones who are wrong in this situation? It's.
No, I think Antoinette has made this point, I think, a couple times about the history of this country, and I thought you referenced it too, Tim. I mean, just the founding, how this country was created and founded in the very first place, and I'm talking about the Constitution of 1789 and everything. The creation of the Second Amendment in the first place was designed to empower people and prevent the rise of a totalitarian monarchical state, and to ensure that citizens would always be able to protect themselves against a tyrannical government. And so I think that as militarized as law enforcement in this country is, we have by far and away, a couple times over, in fact, the most dominant defense in the world. Even if you add the next few powers up into one army, they still don't match ours in terms of defense funding. So it's foolish to think that people who are especially vulnerable to the ways of this country should disarm themselves when the police are receiving millions of dollars in financial aid from the U.S. military. U.S. military has surplus. They pass that off to local municipalities. That's been happening for a very long time, to the tune of billions of dollars. And so I agree, Tim, it's not a matter of disarming people, not so long as we live in the heart of an empire in the way that we do. But it is enacting common sense gun regulation so that certain weapons can't get in the hands of the wrong people. But even those laws, even those sorts of proposals have been stonewalled. And that's why the victims of mass shootings now are going after the gun manufacturers. One of the families from the Sandy Hook tragedy years ago, just won a $73 million settlement against the gun manufacturer because of the way the guns in particular were marketed, and the kind of people that are attracted to those commercials and such. And so there's been some work already. There are a couple of families who've taken similar steps in Uvalde who are exploring lawsuits of the same nature. And so expect something like that to happen sometime very soon in Uvalde. We'll see what happens with gun legislation. I've heard that there's been some discussion among Republicans about maybe doing something small, but with that remains to be seen. Are there any more comments that you guys want to jump into?
One last thing. You said that the way the nation was founded in the creation of the Second Amendment was to protect citizens' rights against a tyrannical government. And I think that narrative has changed to citizens protecting themselves against each other. And I want my gun to protect myself against my neighbor or against the next community over, as opposed to protect myself against a tyrannical, radical, authoritarian regime. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. I think y'all hear me.
You made it.
Yeah. We can hear you, man. Good to have you with us, bro.
No doubt.
Ready
No
now?
doubt. Hey, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Allowing you to be here?
Yes,
you were here the whole time, man. You could have joined anytime you wanted, bro.
I appreciate it.
All right, let's get into this next topic.
Not nominated for a BET Music Award, but Jack Harlow, who is white, was. Harlow featured on Nas X's #1 hit, Industry Baby. Did BET get it right or wrong?
Wow. Let's talk. So I'm a hip hop head. So first when I saw this, I was kind of perplexed a little bit. So I guess there's just a little bit of history to this. A few years back, you remember Lil Nas X hit that first song. He probably had the nation going crazy. Lil kids dancing, doing whatever to what was that Old Town Road? What's it called?
Yeah.
You probably got pictures of your son dancing, right? Isaac, was he dancing to the song? Wonderful song, correct?
I mean, dancing to the song, but he loved it. He did enjoy the song.
Oh, trust me. Y'all was dancing. Y'all was dancing to it. Trust me. There's a YouTube video. You and your son dancing to the song somewhere. So it was a big hit, right? And then when it came out that it was, I remember at the time during that time, the controversy at that time was that a country song, right? And so there was a little debate here and there, and then people jumped on both sides of it, and then I think more or less like a remix came on, and what's his name? His daughter was part of the Disney. I can't think of. I think of the
Billy Ray
see, I told you and your son was dancing to the song. That was a setup. So you and your son danced to the song with the Cyrus brother, and so of course that was a crossover hit, if nothing else, to the country for a country song. And so the big issue was that a country song, and somehow it did go over to the Country Music Awards, blah blah blah. I'm not too sure if it won awards or not, but that was a big thing at the time, right? And then right after that song came out, he come out to be gay, and that was a big controversy too, because it's like everybody was kind of upset with him. They were saying, "Well, you got the whole nation dancing to the song, and how wrong it is for you to now tell the whole nation that you're gay, right?" But then it wouldn't matter. Like he was like, "Well, it doesn't matter. It's a wonderful song. What matters if I was gay or not?" One, two. He was also saying, if you listen to the words is right there. The words is telling you right there in the word in the song that my sexual preference. That's neither here nor there. So then maybe a year later, comes out with another album, and then I think that BET allowed him to perform on stage, and you should have seen some of the images that was portrayed on. I'm not too sure if it's BET Awards or BET Rap Awards, right? And so if you go back maybe a year ago, big controversy about that, because at the time also a lot of people were saying it was too much, right? All right, I have nothing wrong with Lil Nas X. BET went too far, the words they were saying. You guys went too far with portraying this. BET went too far with portraying this. So keep in mind, BET went too far for this. So now let's go here. So now Jack Harlow, I think that's the brother name. Jack Harlow, white guy, wonderful rap album, right? Wonderful rap album. Has great skill, I think, as an MC. Has had a lot of features from a lot of industry people, in which people within the hip hop community could sit back and say that he's a decent MC. He also has that song with Lil Nas X, which was a #1 hit, right? So now the thing is with Nas X is he's upset. Well, he said, well, this is the BET Awards, the Black Entertainment Awards. How is it that Jack is nominated and I'm not? Is this a slight towards me being homosexual? And you know, why is that? So from my standpoint, I was looking at, well, maybe it doesn't matter because my last year, I think they allowed you to open up the show with all of that. I mean, the show was wild, right? So that wasn't they had no it was not an issue then, and I don't think it's an issue now. But I think that he's a sensitive rapper, like many rappers seem to be, very sensitive, and I think he's just exposing himself just to be as sensitive as he is. But the other side is, I think that maybe he's addressing the conversation that needs to be addressed is addressing homosexuality in music and in the black community. So I think that when this topic came up, I think Isaac was like, okay, let's look at the video. And Isaac sent me the video, and the first thing that came to my mind was like, oh, wow, I don't know if you guys seen it. It was for me, it was a tad much. But then it was no different from if it was a anybody else video, whether it be any other rapper or any other person that's out right now. So why is it too much? So I don't want to be what's the word? I don't want to be prejudiced. I'm using that for lack of better words. I want to be fair. I can understand as a hip hop fan what I like, what I don't like. And so I can say that. I want to be fair in understanding why he's upset. Because if he's upset that Jack Harlow got nominated, he didn't. I think he's wrong because there's always been great white performers that's probably been nominated, and other black performers have been left off. Is it because of the homosexuality bit? I cannot say that's not the case.
Here's a thought. Can the BET Awards continue to just give black entertainers awards and not be considered racist?
But see, I think in the past they've always had. You think of wonderful white artists that's been on the show that has been. You know, you go back from Eminem to.
I knew Eminem got one. But
I don't know if he got one. You know he's been nominated. You know that.
I mean, how many have gotten them? I thought he did get it when he got nominated. I mean, how many white artists have got it? Could they really continue to be like, oh, this is for black folks only?
But see, I mean, it is the black entertainment TV. Like, supposed to be. I mean, but
keep in mind, Grant, black people have always been accepting of everybody. We've always had white people come in. We've never shunned nobody. So I bet you within the first 2 years of the BET Awards, a white person won an award. I mean, maybe I'm just oversimplifying it, but that's just how black people have always got down. We let them in always, no matter what, right?
Because you know, extremists are already mad. They always mention BET. There's no white entertainment television. You know, the extremist side of that argument is that there is no white entertainment television. So, you know, this is racist from jump. You know, I'm just devil's advocate. You know,
and with that, I say, no way. Sometimes when you're watching television, sometimes you just want to see. If you just want to see something that's not always presented, you want to see that same thing. I.e., you want to see sports. Where you go? Where do you go? Mm-hmm. Oh, let me see. ESPN, right? Right. You go there. You go to ESPN if you just want to see sports. Especially so at a certain time. Keep in mind when BET first came on, MTV was not playing black music, so that was the foundation of BET. But on the side of things is he wrong? I don't know. I get why he's upset for not being nominated. I think anybody could, but he's going on a rant right now, like really upset that BET.
Yeah, and I think what could be happening, I can't speak for him, but I'm guessing that what he's doing is he's venting a little bit and he's responding to some of the pressure that he's under, and I think some of the hate that he's receiving. I have no doubt at all that he's receiving all sorts of hate through social media and otherwise. I mean, even in promoting this discussion tonight, we were accused of being pedophiles just by showing his picture. Two different people accused us of being pedophiles because we displayed his picture. We showed 3 pictures in the ad. We showed Nas X, we showed the Juneteenth ice cream, and we showed a picture of the Uvalde school, Robb Elementary School. So I'm assuming no one mentioned Nas X by name, but I think it's a fair inference to make given what folks knew about this event and seeing his image. So I mean, we're not even. I mean, we have 5 people listening to us right now. The ad touched, I don't know, a few hundred people, maybe 1,000 people. Nas X is a worldwide celebrity. If we're getting hate on our page just by talking about Nas X, I have no doubt that he's receiving a ton of hate, you know, in his direction. Is he right or wrong? I don't know either of their music well enough to give an honest judgment about whose music is better, whose releases in the past year are better. That I can't say. I do know that white rappers tend to have it harder when they're trying to make it in the industry, and then easier once they've broken through, because their white skin is like a passport to fame, to fortune, to popularity, to acceptance, in a way that black rappers have not yet necessarily obtained as a result of, I have no doubt, racism. I mean, Eminem is definitely not the best MC of all time, but yet he's the best selling rap artist of all time. Elvis Presley is by no means the greatest rock and roller of all time, but he's one of the greatest selling of all time. That has to do with skin color, race, privilege, and such. And so could there be some of that here? Could there be some homophobia? Could it be a little bit of everything? Yeah, probably. And I'm just adding my 2 cents because we don't have too many comments. We just have Chip, who said his music is average. What's the problem? Them shoes with the devil's blood didn't help either. Yeah, that's a good point. We didn't talk about that before.
So right. I forgot about that too. You're right.
Yeah,
What
so
you about to say, Grant?
y'all nice guys, and y'all being nice, man. I'm with you, Chip. Y'all being nice, man. Look, Nas X is garbage. I don't care. His music is not great. It's garbage. I'm just gonna say what Chip was meaning to say, and what I think other people will agree. Hey, Jack Harlow had one of the coldest bars of the year. He said in his lyric, one of his bars in First Class, which is his hit right now. That man said, "I don't care what frat you was in, you can't alpha me." Like, I was like, okay, Jack. I mean, before his stuff was sort of like Cracker Jack box, but he's stepping his game up. I mean, you got to give it to him. My man is hot right now. Lil Nas had his time. He's not hot right now. Old Town Road was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
No. Think of his last album. What's one of the top selling albums of last year? It sold a lot. It sold a lot of albums, but it was more crossoverish than it wasn't. So it wasn't going to be played on your urban station as it might have been played on your pop station. That makes sense. I mean, same thing. You think of Lizzo. Lizzo, I think is that first single she had with that when she said, what's that bar she spit? I'm 100% something. Oh my gosh, I forgot what. I forgot. She said something. One of the bars was hot, right? But then her appeal was so massive, and her audience was so different from what. It was just she has a real pop audience. It just really wasn't just geared toward an urban audience, so it just didn't fit, you know. And there's tons of black artists just like that. So I think that's what it is. And like you said, yeah, it took a D, and that line is so hot. You can't knock that. You can't knock that line right there, Charles. That line, Charles, is right. That's a bar, and I want to use it all the time. Sometime, right? I took a DNA test. It turns out I'm not. You know, that's hot, right? But the thing is that it's same thing with Jack. Jack spit some stuff too this year that made him a great MC, right? And I can't sit back and say that Nas X is not. I just think that he's more pop now, and so I think in that category he doesn't fit. You know, he doesn't fit. And
how much of his popularity and his not fitting is due to them pink dog collars and pink cowboy hats?
No, but keep in mind, last year he opened up. Last year he opened up the BET Awards. You go look at the video. Go look at the video that we sent earlier.
No, thank you.
Go look at the video, and then he opened it up just like that on BET.
And then you look at Jack Harlow. Look at the way Jack Harlow is dressed as opposed to the way Nas is dressed. Right?
No, but what I'm saying is that BET embraced it.
Flamboyance might be some of that stuff might be working against him. You know what I mean? All that over the top stuff. You know, it might be getting to be a little bit old hat because it's a one trick pony kind of thing.
Go back to that last picture, Ike. Go back to the last picture, Isaac, with him and Jack. You hear me? Not the next one. See, that was the year he showed out right there. BET 2021. That was that year he did that. He came out and
that's a good point though, Tim. That's a good point, man. Like it can get old, you know, if like your thing is to be flamboyant. I mean, how you constantly have to push yourself further and do more outrageous things to the point where you become like a caricature of yourself. You become more of a joke, a serious. Yeah, remember DOS Effects? How live they were when they first dropped, and then their second album, no one checked for it. I mean, they had one great album. You know,
stop with DOS Effects.
It's true. Stop. Everyone knows. I mean, everyone knows.
Come on. That's still hot today. But I get your point because what does it become gimmicky, and then he puts himself into.
Yeah.
He puts himself into that box where he's more of a caricature, like you said, and then it's like, you know, hip hop always evolves, and so. And hip hop still, no matter what, hip hop still wants somehow still stand true to that, whatever that essence is, right? And no matter if it's right or wrong, you try to stay true to that essence as much as possible. And he's so far from it, right? And that's part of it, right? I'm not saying there's no place for him, but you're right. I think like that's just it's just out there. I'm not saying I'm not judging it. I'm not judging it at all.
But two pink dog collars. Not one, but two pink dog collars.
All right.
But
I'm just looking at it for what it is.
What I'm saying is that it's not the same thing for women though. Women have been pushing that same button too though, and we evolved that. So then, do we talk about the sexism within hip hop also?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Texas
I'm not hip hop
head. An active ban against transgender high school athletes joining 17 other states. Are these states doing the right thing? And if not, what should happen instead?
Okay. Walmart. So what we're talking about now is there's a recent ban in Texas banning transgender athletes, and there are a number of states who have adopted similar legislation recently. And so the question was, are these states doing the right thing? And I think that they're in some ways this is a very complicated issue, but in another way, I don't think that it is. And so first off, I do think that the states are making a mistake. I think that the more we come to understand gender identity and what it means to be a man or a woman, I think that's not an easy question to answer. And I think people who want things to be black and white get a little bit uncomfortable with that notion. But the truth is that gender and gender identity are social constructions every bit as much as race is a social construction. Male and female biology, that is a completely different issue. But we're talking about gender when we talk about men's sports and women's sports. So my short take is that I do think that that Texas made a mistake. I think the other 15 to 18 states who've also adopted similar bans are wrong as well. And I think that it's unfair. Now that isn't to say that there shouldn't be policy for athletes like Leah Thomas, who's pictured here. Leah Thomas is someone whose story is often misunderstood. Leah Thomas, as a man, before she transitioned to becoming a woman, she was a highly ranked. She placed within the top 10 in several events while competing as a man. She then began to transition to a woman. She took hormone treatments to reduce her testosterone, but she did that while still competing as a man. So she was transitioning, still competing as a man while taking hormones to reduce her testosterone. She became less competitive swimming against men. After another year off, and another year of hormone treatment, she then competed as a woman and she had some success. She didn't win every meet, but she did win a few, and that's when she became national news as the first transgender athlete in college to win a major competition. But people don't know the story that goes in the background and who Leah Thomas was before this happened and everything that she did in transitioning. She was a high-performing male swimmer. She didn't transition to win acclaim, to become more competitive, to win meets. She did it because it was something that she felt was in her. It was who she was. And so I think when a person feels, honestly, that they have been assigned the wrong gender, that the rest of us ought to honor that, and we ought to take as many steps as we can to make sure that people like that feel comfortable. When it comes to athletic competition, yes, there are steps that should be taken to protect the competitive integrity of whatever it is that we're talking about. But even that notion sort of begs the question about hormones and things like that, because there was a woman track athlete. Y'all might remember. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but I'll find out in a second. But she was born a woman. She was competing as a woman, but her testosterone level was such that she was on a different level than all the other women that she was competing against. Her testosterone levels were comparable to that of many men. And so there was an attempt to try to ban her, to take away some of her victories as a result of her testosterone levels, but she was competing naturally. So she wasn't a transgender athlete. She hadn't transitioned from one gender to another. And so when we talk about who can compete and who can't, it goes beyond biology and often in many cases. So the issue is more complex. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I think it's a lot more gray than a lot of people want to give the credit to in this particular conversation. What do you think, Amar?
I think a lot of it for me I think a lot of it is biology. I think that we have to look at exactly what they for me it's like what were you born as? And then for me that's what I'm starting at. Man or woman. You know, that's what I'm starting. That's what I can start at. But to compete, and we're talking about competing, and this we're talking about athletes. I think that let's look at what the governing bodies are saying, because what this is that I don't think they should be banned. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they should not compete, but it has to be something to place it there to make it equitable. If that makes sense. So what did the NCAA say? What did the NCAA state for her? So if that's the baseline, if that's what the baseline is saying,
do you really want to answer, or do you already?
I'm just saying. I'm saying. So right now, if we just use that as a baseline, and then from there we go up and down as into make amendments to and change, then that makes sense, right? As in they're saying maybe a certain level of testosterone, maybe some level of estrogen, maybe taking a year off, whatever that baseline is, right? Just use that and then change it to the point where it makes sense. But as we talked about last week with this big capitalism, and how things go, there will be people there that will be there to exploit. If there's not things there in place, to eliminate people from being exploited. So that means that there has to be some type of test there. Does that make sense? So I'm saying, so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. As long as there's a test there, I'm fine with it. So when she won that swim meet a couple of months back, and we had a big debate about that. We had a big debate between me. We had a big fight about that. But the idea was the NCAA allowed it to happen. So she didn't break any rules at all. She was within her right to swim, right? And everybody who swam with her understood that was her right to swim. If they didn't like her swimming, they had a choice to protest before they got in the water, and that would have made more sense. I don't want to swim in this meet because I find it to be offensive to my gender. They could say whatever, but they swam anyway. They would have had nothing to say if she would have lost. But because she won, it was the big uproar. So I'm saying if you want to fight it, you should have fought before they got the L. But in this case, I think that I think right now that I think we should just follow what the NCAA has right now and just go some up and down in correcting what it looks like. As in for high school, that could be even. I guess people might say, well, at what age or what level is that appropriate? Now, and then maybe that could be a later discussion too. But I don't know.
Yeah,
depends on the sport too. You got these guys beating up women in women's contact sports. I could see jumping into a pool and swimming alongside women, and maybe having a physical advantage in the pool because of strength and weight and strength to weight ratio and things like that. But you got guys going into the MMA ring with these women and beating the crap out of them, man. I think it's for me, it's like having a big body Benz in a race with a bunch of Hyundais. There's an element that's unfair just based on the engineering, and I use that term loosely. I'm not saying the men are superior to women because there's a whole lot of women that beat that guy, or that beat that woman, but I just don't know. For me, I just don't think that because he chose or she chose to transition to be a female and is no longer competitive in the male sport, that automatically translates into the right to swim with genetic females,
But see,
that's not my decision to make. That's not my decision to make.
And see, I was the same way, but then what it is that the law was already made. If there was no law, then we debate that all day long, right? Yeah. But the schools made the law saying that it was okay, right? The schools have already said, put in stone, put on paper that was okay for her to swim.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think also though, just to clarify something, Leah Thomas was a highly competitive male swimmer. She was, as a freshman competing, she was one of the top freshmen. She won awards in his at that time conference for his performance as a freshman, like freshman of the year in the conference and everything like that. It wasn't until he began to take hormone treatments to transition to becoming a woman that his performance declined, because that's the point of the hormone treatment, is to reduce testosterone. So he, although transitioning, was still competing against men. So when people throw out his stats from his sophomore year and say, oh, well, look at the jump between sophomore year and when they competed as a woman a year and a half, 2 years later, the misnomer there is that this swimmer was undergoing hormone treatment. But if you look at their freshman performance, they were very competitive. So Leah Thomas made the transition not to become more competitive, not to win, not to gain accolades, but because Leah Thomas felt in her heart of hearts and in her body that she was a woman who was assigned the biological sex of male. And I think it's far from anyone to judge another person's feelings on the inside about their own gender. And I think it's a damn shame that so many states have enacted these laws, because among gay, queer, and questioning youth, there's already a disproportionately high level of depression and a disproportionately high level of suicide. And it's because of anxiety and discomfort and a feeling of exclusion from not only families, but from schools and from communities. And so these states are only accelerating trauma, anxiety, and I fear death, suicide among LGBTQ youth.
I like that point, because people, what do they say about what sports do, right? I mean, especially when you talk about when they place it towards urban youth, they should go play sports, right? Because it takes care of some of that trauma. It takes care of some of that stress. They throw basketball and sports at us because it will help with some of this trauma that they say we're going through, right? But now and within that same breath, they're telling this class you can't play nothing at all.
Yeah. And
So
the
then
United States has a history of doing that to marginalized populations.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a vast history of doing that to marginalized populations and not being apologetic about it at all. And they will do it for decades. They will do it for decades if somebody doesn't stand up and say something.
Yeah, and so like this is a great example of some of the like xenophobia that's out there. Unfair advantage that takes scholarships from real girls. Come on, man, really? Like where did that happen? And even if it happened once or twice that a transgender woman earned a scholarship that would have gone to a cis girl, like, come on, man. So you're going to deprive this child of something that they have strived for because you don't like the way that they've come about their gender? Like later with that, man. Like Chip is on something with that one. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I know that there's a difference between the struggle that LGBTQ folks in this country face and that faced by people of color and Black people in particular. But the fact that there's marginalization, that there's oppression, that there's a very overt air of discrimination against, I think that there are some comparisons there. You could take a comment like that and say, well, that's what affirmative action does. It takes scholarships away from qualified white children and gives them to less qualified Black children. Like, come on, man. Like that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, man. Wanda says female athletes get banned all the time for taking performance enhancing drugs. Any other comments you guys want to respond to, or anything else any other comments that you want to respond to?
I don't know. I am I'm lost in this one. I'm lost in this one. This one is way complex, man. And for the all the points that you just mentioned, I learned a lot from what you said about these children wanting to compete and be accepted and being banned and not being able to compete. So complex issue. Thank you.
Any other comments you guys want to respond to?
I would just say some of that is that some of it also is just that with these two discussions is that we also want to broaden our viewpoints on some things, because some things are I won't say uncomfortable for us to talk about, but some things we're trying to learn how to talk about. Like the Lil Nas X one was I don't say it was uncomfortable, but it pushed us a little bit, because it pushes us a little bit. But we're trying to learn how to make sure that we talk about everything and not be biased or expose our biases so much to the point where we don't try to learn from things. So we're learning as everybody else is learning also. So yes, but I don't see any other comments.
All right, let's jump into the next one.
Walmart
But hold on,
developed
but
and later
no.
pulled from the shelves due to backlash of Juneteenth ice cream. Who is at fault in this situation, and what should have happened instead?
Well, I think this is also a complex issue, and I'm glad we take these things on, right? Because Walmart, not only did they commercialize and try to trademark Juneteenth, they packaged it and sold it without talking to anybody about it. Say, hey, what do you think of this? Is this a good idea? Obviously, the company that undertook this whole operation with Walmart, the subsidiary of Walmart under the Great Value brand, did not have anybody that they could talk to about this seriously. But I'm wondering, why are we mad at Walmart? Because you can buy right now online. Hold up, I took some notes. 1 second, bear with me. Juneteenth products. You can buy Juneteenth Black Girl clog shoes made by the Harshring store. You can buy Juneteenth hand sanitizer. You can buy a Juneteenth flag, T-shirts, fireworks, a myriad of children's books, party decorations, balloons, pinwheels, streamers. So why are we mad at Walmart about some ice cream? You can get every other, and you can't say that they don't do that with any other holidays, because look at St. Patrick's Day. You can get some green sunglasses, a green Irish hat, you know. So what is it? Is it because the company that did it wasn't a black company? You know, there is reference to a black woman who has a trademark with Walmart, but why are we mad at Walmart? Because everything is commercialized in this country.
I think that's a perfect take. I can see some valid points to that. I thought about the same thing too.
Yeah, I mean, because you can get, I mean, every holiday has its commercialization. Is this one? We mad because they commercialized this one, and this one is quote unquote a black holiday. You know?
No. Let's make sure we present the issue correctly.
Okay.
It wasn't necessarily that they presented a product. It's the product they presented. They presented a ice cream, and not just they didn't have strawberry or vanilla. They chose to have chocolate ice cream named Juneteenth on the label of the chocolate ice cream. That's where the problem lies. Is that they chose, like, who signed off on this?
Yeah, they didn't talk.
Walmart has 10,000 stores worldwide.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me this is a huge operation? How did this get signed off and someone was like, chocolate ice cream? We're going to make that the Juneteenth edition. That's the problem. Go ahead.
Is that being too sensitive though? I mean, because like maybe there's a vanilla. I'm just playing devil advocate now. Maybe there's a vanilla flavor coming in. I like strawberry. Maybe there's a Neapolitan, because you know how white people like to bring all the colors together. Maybe that's a flavor going in. Because my thing is, like, if they don't do something, then there's a uproar, and when they do something, there's an uproar. So I get Juneteenth. Is it too soon? Sometimes is it too soon?
It is.
Because maybe that's what it is. Because same time is like McDonald's has MOK thing, right? They have that, and that's you see MOK in McDonald's. So I guess we accept that already. But is it how is it wrong? Because right now everybody's trying to find Juneteenth stuff right now. Because they want to make sure it's celebrated right. So somebody has to make a product. Somebody has to make a product for the party. Somebody to make something. So something has to be out there to be bought.
Yeah.
As we talked about last week about capitalism, this is where we at. Something has to be out there to be bought, right?
Oh, and this is the essence of capitalism. This is the essence of capitalism.
It is, right? Right.
You have the status quo. You have the status quo. Manufacturing, packaging, marketing, and selling marginalized, oppressed people their own culture at a premium rate because it's Juneteenth ice cream, right? So it's a couple dollars more, but it's being made by oppressed and marginalized peoples all over the world, in Vietnam and China, you know. So us buying this stuff, we have no choice but to buy it if we want to celebrate, but it makes us idiots. You know, it makes us idiots. And until we get control of some textile industry and we can mint our own cloth and all that kind of stuff to make our own flags, we're in a bad position as far as not being that idiot, because if you go to Walmart to get it, that came out of Vietnam or China, and some poor little Vietnamese person getting paid, pennies from heaven to make that stuff for a holiday. They don't
but
give
that
a
does
damn.
nothing about my party in 2 weeks.
What's that?
That does nothing about my party in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
What I'm gonna do for ice cream? Grant tell me I can have ice cream now.
Man,
I'm sorry, Grant. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But I think another part of this, though, too, is that I think that if I understand correctly, there are a lot of different angles, and so we've touched on a couple, but there's another one too that Juneteenth should not be. It is because we live in capitalism, but Juneteenth is. I mean, it's memorializing, it's celebrating the end of a terrible institution, of a vile institution, and so for a corporation to slap it on some ice cream, like St. Patrick's Day, like to equate the two. Oh, it's St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day, Juneteenth, like those things morally, emotionally have different weight. But because this is capitalism, if it can derive profit, then it doesn't matter what the morally right thing to do here is. But along those lines, this is someone who does have a contract with Walmart. She's a black woman who owns her own ice cream company. So, I mean, Walmart and other big corporations, they could be making significant investments in Black-owned businesses rather than the marketing campaign for the Juneteenth ice cream. They could have put that money into her ice cream, but they didn't, because selling their own ice cream makes them more money than selling this woman's ice cream. So that's just another spin on it for the conversation. Well, I don't know what you guys think.
G, wasn't you saying something about the trademark thing a couple of days ago? Grant?
Trademark about what?
Oh, they tried to trademark
the name Juneteenth
right there on the label.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what I said. Well, I forget what I said, but
the thing was, I think that it was that see, for me, it wasn't so much the making of the ice cream, because no matter all the stuff that we're buying, no matter where you get it from, that says Juneteenth on it, we don't know. I mean, we don't know where it comes from, who made it. We don't know. We can't. We don't know. Right? Outside maybe the T-shirt that we ordering from the brothers down the corner. They got their carrot. They got their little machines, and they're printing them up themselves. We know where those coming from. But outside everything else, we don't know, right? Especially right now, everything is being mass produced, right? So we don't know that. So I'm looking at ice cream the same way. The corniness of the ice cream name, that's corny. So I wouldn't go buy it just because it's corny. Just on the fact of it's just corny, right? But I think the thing that hit most was somebody got a trademark on the name Juneteenth. A white man came along and got a trademark on the name Juneteenth. And that's why, if you look on the ice cream, go back to the ice cream somewhere, Ike.
Okay.
It's on there, it's going to say, you see the little trademark symbol, right? See the TM?
Trademark symbol, yeah.
Juneteenth.
They highlighted that. I think it's a celebration. I think it's the whole thing. They can't just take. But I see what you're saying.
No. He wrote. No, the thing is, he. So that means Juneteenth. I think his trademark is for. It might just be for like
that logo. Like that logo and maybe
the wording of Juneteenth. The wording for Juneteenth is his. It was his, or something like that.
He applied for the trademark. I don't know if
he applied for. But it's it right there. So right now they're using it.
Yeah,
it's there right now. It's official.
Yeah, it's disgusting, Ike, in that you said that to put it on the level of St. Patrick's Day, or you would never create a holiday commemorating the end of the Holocaust, or the Battle of Wounded Knee, or you would never create holidays based on these things. But the holiday in and of itself, to me, has always been a slap in the face, because 3 Asian people got beat up and they got a hate crimes bill based on something that, the stuff that Trump was saying. 3-4 Asian people got beat up, they got a hate crimes bill. 400 years of oppression and lynching and degradation and brutality, we get a holiday, So yeah, the whole holiday thing has always been a slap in the face to me. And the only thing that could have been made worse about this ice cream is if it had been watermelon flavor,
Oh God.
Oh man.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. But it was coming. It was coming. It was
coming.
coming.
It was coming. Because they ain't talk to nobody anyway. Whoever.
No. The problem is, Tim, they did talk to somebody, and we have never had the backbone to tell somebody, don't run that shit. And that's the problem. Yeah. It's black people in the room, and they didn't say anything. And that would be my issue, is why didn't y'all say something? I hold them accountable too. They should have known better.
Yeah.
Man. But
that's true. I wonder how many black folks in upper management, but I don't know, but who's on their marketing team. But yeah, I mean, it ran past someone, and you're right. In those kind of high positions, they probably just said, well, I hope nobody notices.
They ran it past Mookie in the mailroom. Mookie, what do you think? Because one of our opinions represents all of our opinions, regardless of our level of education or experience. Whoever they talked to was not qualified to give them a response.
And like I say, Mookie said because he didn't want to say nothing else because he didn't want to lose his job.
Exactly. Whoever they talked to wasn't qualified to give him a response. Even if it was a senior executive VP of marketing, he went home and told his wife, man, it's about to be some smoke on the water. Because he didn't say nothing at work.
Right. Yeah. Take my name off the email. Just take my name off the email. I'm not going to be around this.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to resign over this, man. I'm sorry, man. Somebody needs to resign.
It's fun. But no, I think you're right, though. It's like other coaches don't. I mean, the understanding what Juneteenth was for the longest. I understood what it was. So I understand what a holiday was. So you celebrated for the longest. So that's not a big thing. It's just that now that it has became so mainstream, I think that's when it becomes an issue. It's just like hip hop. I guess I'm always a hip hop head. When hip hop, you always love things such as underground, right? And then when things become more popular, you don't even want to be attached to it. And I think when you think about things becoming above ground, what I'm saying is that when white people get their hands on it, sometimes it goes astray. And this is the case of it going astray. Like Juneteenth was fine, being celebrated in its little circles or whatever, right? But then last year you got white people crying about it, and you got politicians kneeling on the floor with their kente cloths. Like, I mean, just going too far, right? Just going too far. And it's like, no, y'all could have came to the barbecue with this one. But just know what's the rope? What was you hitting? What was you saying? Q-Tip said, Ike,
don't prep the roll.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you come, dude, play. Just come. I ain't saying come and bring a watermelon, nothing like that, but just play your position. And what happened is they took it too far, and then capitalism does what capitalism does. And now it's like, man, just imagine though the day after all that ice cream was gonna be on sale. See, everybody, y'all mess it up. Y'all mess up a good thing. Like the day after Valentine's Day and Easter, all that candy that you could go buy for half off. Y'all be messing up good things, man. Man.
Yeah, they thought we would go out and run out and buy the.
Man, y'all could have had a whole freezer full of chocolate Juneteenth ice cream.
You know what, man? Well, along with them patty pies too, huh? Patty pies too.
90,000 new jobs were created last month, with the unemployment rate holding steady at 3.6%. Is the economy improving or getting worse?
I think this might be one of the most important pieces of our talk tonight, especially for those who are not. I mean, people are seeing pain at the pump. People are seeing changes in the grocery store, and the fact they talked about how great the unemployment rate is at this moment has not going to reflect what's going to take place in the next few months. There's people who are telling people to warn their family members at this very moment to go out and buy extra food. to go get extra water, to if you can store fuel somewhere. We're not actually even, and we're talking about, this is coming from people like Warren Buffett, Peter Schiff, George Salente, Robert Kiyosaki, some of the top economist talk persons who discuss these issues every day, who are issuing this warning. We're in the midst of hyperinflation that's going to take place in this country, to the likes we've never seen. And you talked about the 70s when they had the gas shortage and how long the lines were, how much it got at that particular time. We haven't seen these numbers at all. These are record-breaking gas prices going on right now that they're talking about can go up to the tune of $8, $9. Even some have said it can go up to $10 a gallon. So that's going to take food off the table of many working class Americans in this country. Only the super rich are really going to fare in this situation. I hate to say it. We have to really be mindful and be vigilant that even though we're able to go in right now to the grocery store and buy things at this very moment, they're not in abundance. I don't know if you took a look around the grocery store, but things are slowly but surely not appearing on the shelves where they were this time last year. You can go to the meat section, you go to many of the sections in the grocery store, and there's a lot of empty spots, empty spaces. And unfortunately, these products are not going to be restocked. They're not coming back, some of these products. Last year, now during 2020, we saw during the beginning of the pandemic, there were a lot of products that were out because people were hoarding things. And so you came in and had limitations on how much tissue you can buy or how many cases of water you can buy. Now it's getting to the point they're going to start rationing these items out. So those limitations are going to be coming back soon, where you only be allowed to take one case of water, not because of people are hoarding, well, people are, that's some of it, but because they don't have enough to go around. And things have become so expensive, you may not be able to afford it in the first place. Could you imagine going to the store and purchasing a $12 carton of eggs, $8 gallons of milk? This is not far-fetched, people. This is not, I mean, if you told somebody last year that we'd be at $5 a gallon of gas, somebody would laugh at you. But this is not a far-fetched estimate. Again, these are top folks that are warning us about what's getting ready to take place. There currently is now only 10 weeks worth of wheat left in storage worldwide. That's scary. Because of the fact I mentioned weeks ago about the importance of Ukraine. Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world. They produce more wheat production than anywhere else in the world. So now that production is being shut down. Where are we going to get the wheat from? So there are countries who are actually starting to hoard their resources. They're no longer exporting certain resources. So we're not even getting the resources that we would get from other countries because they're looking around like, we got to feed our own people. I can't send you all these products. I got to feed my own. So you have in places like Pakistan who are actually attacking the wealthy as they come home with their groceries because they don't have anything to eat right now. That's going to start happening here in the U.S. What's going to happen when you're not able to provide for your family? And I'm sorry, if you ever got hungry, I know a lot of us, haven't felt hunger pains in a while, but if you know what hunger pains feel like, it's not a good feeling. You soon want to become violent. And you soon might want to do anything necessary to feed your family. And this is where we're heading, folks. They already talked about energy crisis that could even double if we have a hurricane this season. That's going to cause gas prices to rise. So you're going to have to jump, going to work, get paid, or so this economy is not going in the right direction. Janet Yellen claims this is the top priority of the U.S. So does Biden. President Biden said the same thing. However, I'm afraid they're too late. I hope I'm wrong, people, but I believe when I've seen the writing on the wall and these top economists that I've been following, and you can look all this information up on your own, are giving this dire warning. And all our listeners, I definitely think that it'd be wise to go and just go get a couple extra cans of whatever it is, Spam, tuna, vegetables, whatever the case might be. It's nothing wrong with having a little extra in case you just might need it. But it's happening around. It's already starting to happen in other countries around the world where they're seeing these shortages, and especially now that China has shut down a lot of its ports because of they have these strict lockdowns right now due to the coronavirus. They had the zero policy where they have different whole apartment buildings sectioned off. No one comes in, no one goes out. And they have these camps set up aside for those who do test positive. So their workers are not working. And we get a ton of exports from them, and then we're not receiving it, folks. So we have a problem here with the economy. We are definitely heading towards some might say depression, not a recession. Some may say that we're heading worse than the depression that we saw in the 1920s, worse than that. So we have an issue. So what you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this goes back to what we talked about last week to some extent. We had a conversation about a book called How to Be an Anti-Capitalist in the 21st Century. And one of the things that we read from that book and share with our audience was one short passage that Eric Olin Wright, the author, wrote, which was, the hallmark of capitalism is poverty in the midst of plenty. And so profits are flowing. People are making money. There's no doubt that there are some supply chain issues, like Grant said, but let's also call it what it is. There's price gouging happening right now. Corporations, especially oil and gas firms, are making money hand over fist. They're breaking records. This is a great example. This is from 2020. Look at how CEOs are making more and more money over time. The purpose of corporations, the purpose of capitalism, is to bleed the world dry of its resources and turn them into profit. And those profits are being made, but they're not being shared. We're not all enjoying those profits. And so there's definitely something happening here. Even if the supply chain issues were solved, we would still have record high prices in not only gas and oil and in food, but also the rent, the cost of living, the mortgage interest rates are going up. In Chicago, rent is 20% higher now than it was at this same time last year. That's outrageous.
20%.
I mean, the apartment didn't get air conditioning. I didn't get an extra room on my apartment, but I'm paying 20% more for the same joint for a reason that is hard, that the owner of the property is hard pressed to explain. Like, you locked into that mortgage rate, your mortgage is the same, but yet I'm paying more now than I did before. And so what we're seeing are property owners, business owners, corporations, the people who control the means of production, those in control of capital, are exploiting their power now, and we're all experiencing the rest of it. So I think what we're seeing now, to Grant's point, is not only a recession, possibly a depression, but I mean, we're seeing the late stages of capitalism right before our eyes. And so the answer to me is to do something more democratic than what we're doing now, because I don't see that we will find our way out of this better than we were when we went into it.
What do you mean the late stages of capitalism? This is capitalism at its best.
Well, capitalism inevitably will fail. Capitalism has to fail at some point.
Because what I'm saying is that this is at this point right here.
When the last drop of oil is extinguished, when the last wheat crop is tilled, when every last supply is gone, there'll be no one left to buy it. And ExxonMobil and the ConAgra and all them, they'll be there with all their lush resources and no one there to buy it or to purchase it.
Hold on. What I'm saying is that keep in mind, it might be oil beforehand, but it started this nation, it was bodies. Mm-hmm. Right? So no matter what, as long as there's bodies, capitalism always going to survive if we just talk about it. Because keep in mind, I was equated to a chattel 400 years ago. I give you two, you know what I'm saying? So it's always going to be there. And so right now what's going on now is the rich is set this up as in a situation of it's time to buy more. It's time to buy more. Prices going to drop. I got the money. I've been storehousing. Keep in mind, they've been paying me a lot. I mean, I've been asking for more money. I've been asking for more money than what I needed. I've been saving it. Now it's time to buy more of it at a cheaper price. So now the rent is 20% more. And now what's going to happen is people now who can't afford their house anymore, they're going to foreclose on it. Now because my rent, now I'm charging 20% more for rent. Guess what I'm going to buy? Another duplex.
You better buy a gun. You better get a gun. Better get a gun.
And
like
get a
Wanda
gun too.
said, look what Wanda said. I can't post comments. Wanda said, my greatest fear is the National Guard going door to door and confiscating everything that we have, such as food and dry goods, over their set limits. Yeah.
The thing is, people gonna give it away though. People gonna give it away because right now we give away those freedoms more than we understand what they're worth. Because right now, I mean, like, so you think about the crime bill with crack, right? There were black preachers, there were black Congress people that celebrated. They wanted that level, right? You know, we gave that away.
Joe Biden, right? Bill Clinton.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, we was right there behind them. We gave it away. So even here, even in this, we don't get some of those liberties away for the fantasy of something. We want that $1,200, not knowing what that $1,200 cost. This could have been what it cost, but we wanted it, right? We wanted it.
Yeah.
And then now this might cost some young men and women going off to war. It could cost that to bring it back. And I think that might happen.
So Valiant Thor said, not trying to argue, but doesn't capitalism encourage hard work? If I work extremely hard to be rich, I can achieve it.
Prove that to me. Show me where that work at. Show me where. If
that's true, first of all my brothers here on the call would be rich. I know people who work 80 hours a week and are in their mid 50s, barely can make two ends meet. So I agree with you, Valiant Thor, that if you work hard in this country, you should earn a living wage that is adequate to support your family, whether you have a family of one, whether you have a family of three. If you work hard in this country, if you secure a job, that job is part of our ecosystem. Every person deserves to live independently and with self-determination if they work for a living. So I agree with that, Valiant Thor, but the idea that simply working hard creates wealth is a myth, because the wealthiest people in this country aren't the hardest working people. At Tesla, Elon Musk isn't the one working the hardest. It's the people in his plants who are working the hardest, and they don't have a union to ensure that they have all of their needs met, that their wages are adequate, so on and so forth. It isn't the Starbucks CEO who's working the hardest. It's the ones who are preparing our lattes every day. Those are the ones who are working the hardest. So in a democratic society where workers share in the profits, then yes, hard work can produce wealth. Innovation can produce wealth, but not in a capitalist society. Capitalism is designed to create winners and losers. There are no winners unless there are also losers. So we could all work hard. We could have the exact same work ethic. Everyone on this call, everyone listening, we could all bust our asses the exact same way. Inevitably, some of us will lose and some of us will win, and it will have nothing to do with how hard we work, because that's not the way that capitalism is designed.
But hard work pays, doesn't pay off. I think we all. I think that there's nothing wrong with working hard.
No, there isn't. And Valiant Thor says he can go cut 120 lawns and make a killing. You should do that then. You should do that, Valiant Thor. Word up.
But the
I have
thing is
no
that
doubt
what
that
happens is that when
you'll work
somebody
very
see
hard and make money doing that.
you cutting 120 lawns a day, what's going to happen is somebody else going to sit back and say, "Oh, he's cutting 120 lawns. And he's just one person. I'm gonna come in and a corporation's gonna come in and take over it and cut you out the whole situation, right? Because now that they're gonna come up with a machine that can cut them 120 lawns in half a day, and then employ you as an employee.
Yeah.
For you know what I'm saying? And I mean, I'm not saying it's bad or wrong. I'm just saying that understanding what type of system that you're working under. It's capitalism.
Yeah. And like I could go cut the same amount of lawns and then I'd be rich for the day as well. Like we can pontificate and theorize what we could go out and do. If I went out and worked at Uber through the weekend and charged everybody a certain amount, and then off my tips, if I was very nice, I could get rich too. Like it isn't that easy to get 120 lawns, cut them all. I mean, it's not as easy as simply securing clients and moving forward. If it were that easy, then everybody in this country, or virtually everybody, would be prosperous, and that isn't the case. We have a declining middle class. We have had for some time. We have a growing poverty rate, and it isn't because people aren't working hard. It's because the same jobs that our grandparents had, in many cases, that were able to pay a mortgage, put kids through private school or college, can no longer pay the rent. Right? Like my grandfather, who worked at a title company, paid the mortgage. He had put a child through private school. He could do none of that today with that same job. That job could barely make rent, let alone qualify him for a mortgage, because his income to debt ratio would not stack up. Right? So I imagine that's true and that's what people in older generations don't understand about the cost of living today. There's nothing more expensive in America than being poor. And so pulling oneself out of poverty, while not impossible, is next to impossible.
As a person who's owned a lawn care business with something close to about 50 regulars, 120 lawns in one day, that killing you gonna make is yourself. I've existed in that business. I've done it, and you need to show me those immigrants who could do that in a day, 120 of them, because I'm telling you, once you get into an operation that size, you probably aren't making any money. Once you have enough employees and enough equipment to mow 120 lawns in a day, realistically speaking, you aren't making any money. You got so much overhead, you don't know what to do with. So I just, I'd like for you to give the 120 lawns a day argument a rest, because that's a misnomer.
And I get what he's saying. He might can cut, you probably could easily cut 5 lawns a day, right? $20 a day, $30 a lawn, maybe make $150 a day. And we're not saying that's a lot of money, but it's enough, right? It's enough just to do what you need to do. So we're not discouraging anybody from not doing that, making that their hustle. But at the same time, is that it's not equating to, like you said, Elon Musk, right? It's not equating to that. And that's the issue, is that there's so many of us at the bottom comparative to how many there is at the top. So those at the top, that 1%, they're not going to struggle at all. The Walmart, we talk about Walmart brand, they lost, maybe $100 million maybe last month. All right, and that's all because the stocks dropped or whatever. You think they're sweating it all? You think they're crying it all? No. You know why? Because they're going to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
When we lose money of that magnitude, it's a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big difference. So imagine you with those 120 lawns, and you lose 60 of them, and those 60 lawns are gone, and you still got to pay those maybe 5-6 employees. It ain't that easy. And we're saying is that, okay, maybe we need to start, tighten up our bootstraps a little bit. Let's figure out ways to maneuver these next, maybe hopefully a year and a half. Let's also try to figure out how we can cripple the system some so that we don't want to keep doing this every 20, 30 years. Because it's not that the people don't want to work hard. It's a system is not paying for hard workers. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So how can we change the system that will pay hard workers?
Right.
Because that's the problem. Because people out here working hard. Because you can find somebody working 30 hours at McDonald's and another 30 hours at Burger King, trying their very best.
Yeah.
Working hard. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of people doing that right now. Walking to work.
Yeah.
Doing that 60 hours for $12 an hour. Working hard.
And when we say to people who have jobs like that, Amari, when we say to them, well, if that job doesn't pay you well enough to survive, then just get another job. What we're essentially saying to that person is that I understand that your job has utility. Your job has purpose in our society, and you're fulfilling a need that others have. But I don't believe that you should earn a decent living wage to fill that need, to fill that void, to perform some useful function for society. So go out and get another job. That's what we're effectively saying when we tell someone that you need to cut 120 lawns just to make ends meet. Because we all know you aren't growing wealthy from cutting lawns. Maybe your grandchildren will become wealthy if your lawn company doesn't go under in another 25 years. But you will not grow wealthy by cutting lawns, but your grandchildren might, right? So anyway, I know it's getting past, man. It's almost 8:40, man. You guys want to keep going?
It's always up to you.
I think we're down to about 3 people that are here still commenting. So we're down to the last few folks here. But if you want to address their last few comments, or we can close it out, up to y'all.
Oh yeah, go ahead, G. Go ahead, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. Let's see. We got. Is it Natty that's been with us for a while? She has had some good comments. Wanda said a couple of things. Wanda said, "It seems like the whole world is on strike right now. Businesses have decreased their hours due to lack of help," which is very true. You can hardly even go and even find lunch now. A lot of lunch hours have been cut for many businesses because they don't have enough staff to run that typical breakfast, lunch, and dinner crew. It's not happening anymore. Most people are now opening up around 4 or 5 o'clock and serving dinner only in many cases. So. And that's due to the fact that people spend a whole year in 2020 basically at home. Some people figured out other ways other hustles, other ways to make money. They didn't want to go back and work a 9 to 5. So I agree, there's some hard workers out there, but people are also working smarter now. Where they're now digital nomads. They may put those hours in, but they're putting the hours in at their own location, wherever they might be in the world. Or they put the hours in wherever they want. You got some people who work in the evenings. They don't work in the mornings now. They work from maybe 5 to 10 p.m. or 5 to 11. I mean, so people are the pandemic has changed jobs overall. We have never had a time where we were allowed to be home and work. I mean, you had people that worked from home before the pandemic, but it maybe not as many numbers as there are now. I mean, myself included. I'm now a hybrid employee. And I will be for good. So, it's all because of the pandemic. So, yeah, you have those folks now who were making $8 an hour, $7 an hour washing dishes at a restaurant can now walk into White Castle and get a job damn near $15 an hour. So, I mean, things have everything has been shaken up in terms of the economy, in terms of businesses, predicated on the fact that, because of the pandemic.
I like that, G, though. I like that point. Keep in mind, $15 an hour. At one point, that was an $8 an hour job, right? Right. That means the corporation had the money to pay these people this money a long time ago.
All along.
They had to.
They pushing the cost off into the consumer though.
Oh
That's
no,
not
they
always the case.
did. They
They
right,
put
but they
that
had
cost
to.
that they had to pay the worker now. Now we're paying. That's why these prices are high.
But they don't have to pass. They don't have to pass it
That's
off.
not why prices are high at all.
They don't have to at all.
That
Though.
is why the prices are high.
No,
They've
no.
increased the prices because now because they're paying workers more money.
Yeah,
and so now they have to put that cost
because the corporations are greedy.
Item.
The corporations are greedy. They don't have to. Same reason why. When people are talking about reparations. So you tell me they had money to give people, the whole nation, all along, when they could have just gave African Americans reparation money? That means they had the money.
Oh, for sure, the government.
The government had it.
Sure.
McDonald's had the money too to pay these people. Keep in mind during the pandemic, they were the only people that was working, right? And they were like, "You paying y'all anything?" They could have shut down like everybody else. McDonald's didn't have to stay open, but they was paying people anything, and so they had the money. They were making enough money, and they chose. Now they making a decision to pass off this cost to us. They don't have to do that either. Because same time, we don't got to go back to that store.
Mm-hmm.
But that's capitalism. You know what I'm saying? It's capitalism, and this is how it works. But they made that decision.
Yeah, one that says some food chains that have electronic robots delivering food. Yeah, I mean they are taking jobs. So they're like, we're not going to pay you any money. We're going to go ahead and replace you with robots.
And see how they say, and see what the corporation tell the people. We don't care about you.
Oh, for
At one point, we need you so bad. I'm gonna double your pay, but since I got to double your pay, let me in the back go make a robot for your replacement. We feeding this beast that shows no love for us at all. No love.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No disagreement there. I mean,
it's like, we gonna W. Oh, but at the same time, in the background, we can't keep paying these fools just $15 an hour. Let's find a better way. Let's create this. Let's create this robot, and we'll pay them. We'll pay them this money for a minute, but know what? Next few years, those jobs are gonna be taken away. It is, and that's just capitalism. It doesn't care about the people. It goes down, just care about the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, and let's keep in mind, capitalism is not a democratic system either. You have a hierarchy. You have people who own the company making decisions that affect people who work in or for the company. If every stakeholder in the company had a hand in making decisions, there could be no backdoor technology development, technology replacement of human labor, like you're saying, Amari. If everybody was making the decision together, if there was a more cooperative way of deciding the future of the company and how it will market itself, how it will produce its goods, then a lot of the problems that we're talking about now could be avoided. But as it stands, the CEOs, the executive vice presidents, the senior vice presidents, all of the high-ranking executives are making thousands of percent more than the guy that is flipping the burgers, the guy that is taking your order at the checkout. And that wasn't the case 70 years ago, 60, even 40 years ago. The gap between what CEOs made and what wage workers made was much smaller. And in other countries, it is also much smaller. But in the United States, the gap between what working people make and what executives make continues to grow. And as long as that divide grows, the disconnection in communication, in partnership, in cooperation will also grow, because executives will continuously prioritize the profits of the company rather than the well-being of the people in the company. And that ultimately will lead, when you add it all up together, to a failure of the system. So yeah, capitalism is doing exactly what it's designed to do, but capitalism will ultimately fail if not reformed, if not tamed, to go back to what Eric Olin Wright said.
Valiant Thor, I don't believe you. I'm just going to leave it at that.
He said you need more people. I don't believe you. You need more people.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you have 9 figures in disposable income. I don't believe I just don't believe you. I just don't believe you. Thank you for the like and subscribe, but I do not believe you.
And then on the flip side, if it is true, you have an obligation, you have a duty to share, right? You have an obligation and duties to share with the people on how that was done. Because why be in this bubble by yourself of 1% and look down from this glass castle and look down at us, right? Why don't you share the wisdom, share the knowledge?
But not even that, Amar. I mean, he's just lying.
No.
He doesn't know how hard he worked compared to the next man.
I believe him. I'm just saying, if it's so true,
how can you believe I work harder than 99% of the population?
I'm saying I'm being the optimist right now.
He's just making stuff up at this point. He's saying
I'm being the optimist. I'm being the optimist before I go to sleep. Before I go to bed, I want to be an optimist, and I want to sit back and say, share the wisdom, bro. That's all I'm saying.
I believe Valiant Thor is smoking crack through that hammer, and that's all there is to it.
You said that, so I had an idea the other night. What if the government will start supplying weapons, or have been supplying weapons to this war with the drugs now? How would that affect how people viewing drugs? So let's just say it's not crack now. Let's say that it's what's the drug of choice now? What's the drug of choice now? Is it fentanyl? Let's just say the CIA is allowing fentanyl to come into America to supply to buy weapons. The profit from that to buy weapons for the Ukrainian war. Can't say we cannot say it's not beyond what America is about.
No, it's not.
No, and every other war has happened, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Tim, you might know more about that than me, but I know in the Vietnam War it happened. I know that when we invaded Afghanistan, there was some transaction there as well. So the Iran-Contra affair in the 80s, I mean, go on and on.
Yeah, wars have often been.
So
I think that we should write a story and like Derek Bell's
book.
That,
bro. Huh? We should explore that, bro. We should explore that.
I think that's what's happening. And then I think that's what's happening. But what happened with it is they thought once again it was going to affect African Americans. But what happened was it flipped on them, and this fentanyl is now attacking white people. So it's a horror story. Ooh, that's a horror story, Tim. That's it right there. That's the story right there. Tim's he's an actor and he writes stories. That's it.
Well, I mean, it's an old story. It's nothing new.
But got white people dying, and the CIA is at fault for killing white people.
Good twist.
And then hey, check this out. Obama, it started under Obama's watch.
Good twist.
See, you got to put the twist in there. I thought about this the other night.
Good twist. Pretty much guarantees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, never.
360 Productions right there. 360 Productions right there.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know what to call it, but yeah. Fentanyl. Obama something. I don't know.
All right, I guess we're getting ready to wrap up, huh?
Yeah. All right. Don't indulge me in my dreams. That's fine.
That's
fine. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Nice discussion, though.
No doubt.
Yeah. Hey, well, listen, we have a special event coming up next week, June 16th. Jay-Z versus everybody, as was mentioned earlier. Many of us in the group love hip hop. It's one of the things that we're passionate about and we love to discuss. So every now and then we like to do something that is hip hop related. So we have a program called Jay-Z versus everybody. It'll be coming on next Thursday, June 16th at 9:00 Eastern. We normally go on at 8. This event's going to be a little bit later. It's going to be on at 9 o'clock Eastern and 8 o'clock Central. So if you have not liked our page yet or subscribed to our YouTube channel, we definitely invite you to do that so that you can stay connected to our discussions and stick with us when we do the next thing.
All right.
All right.
All right, y'all.
All right.
All right.
All right. Real Powers people.
Real powers people.
Powers
Real
people.
Powers people.